Welcome back to the Atreyu Locs channel. I hope everyone is doing well. Today I will be discussing how to semi-freeform without damaging your locks. So if you are considering semi-freeforming or you already have semi-freeform locks, stay tuned. As usual guys, if you have not already done so, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more lock videos from me. Also, if you are already subscribed, be sure to hit the notification bell so that you are notified every single time I upload, as soon as I upload. Let's get to it. So first of all, what are semi-freeform locks? Semi-freeform locks are basically locks that are not manipulated often. It's sort of a hybrid between manicured locks, which are maintained using some method pretty regularly, and freeform locks, which are not manipulated whatsoever. So it's kind of the best of both worlds because there are benefits to both. So if you take someone who has manicured locks, they're maintaining their roots often, and you reduce the number of times that they do that over a given period of time, let's say a year, then you now have someone with semi-freeform locks. And it's really interesting because I never really thought of myself as someone who has semi-freeform locks. But when you look at like my maintenance track record, I guess I would be someone who has semi-freeform locks. I mean, if you think about the fact that between my 4-year lockiversary and my 5-year lockiversary, I only retwisted once. And between my 5-year lockiversary and my 6-year lockiversary, I only retwisted twice. And now that I'm in my 6th year, it's almost December, my 6-year lockiversary was back in August. I still haven't retwisted, as you can see, and it's been nearly 4 months. By the way, I do plan on retwisting 3 times this year, trying to test out different frequencies. But yeah, I would say with this very little maintenance that I'm doing on my locks, I'm definitely someone who has semi-freeform locks. I don't have freeform locks because I do still do maintenance, but not very often at all. And there are benefits to doing little maintenance, which we're gonna get into now. So the first benefit to semi-freeform locks, and it's kind of obvious, but it does need to be stated because it is so awesome, and every person who has manicured locks will agree with me because they will understand that the benefit is that of less maintenance. If you get maintenance, or especially if you do your own maintenance, you know that when you don't have to do any maintenance on your head, or you don't have to pay someone else to do maintenance on your locks, that is a beautiful thing. You get more time for you doing whatever else you want to do, and or you save money. A second benefit to having semi-freeform locks is that you can pretty much just get up and go. Now, I know a lot of people who have locks in general say that they can just get up and go, but how many of you guys really just get up and go? A lot of you are concerned about how your locks look. Understandably so, especially if you are in the professional world, right? You care about how your locks and those strands are laying. You're not trying to have a huge afro if you're a manicured lock person. You're not trying to have an afro just resting on top of your scalp, right? You want everything to look nice and neat in that professional work setting. So you're not really just getting up and going. You're doing something in between that get up and that go. Let's be honest. But for someone who has semi-freeform locks, there's really nothing to do. I mean, yeah, you might spritz it with water. Maybe you will oil your scalp if it needs it, maybe. But pretty much, you're just getting up and going. So that is the second benefit of semi-freeform locks. The third benefit to having semi-freeform locks is that there are fewer instances where you are creating tension on your scalp. And of course, we all know by now that tension on your scalp, too much and repeated, continually adding tension to your scalp can lead to traction alopecia. And that is a condition that none of us with hair want. We want to keep our hair, right? So think about it. If you're semi-freeforming, then you're doing less maintenance. Then that means that you're pulling at your scalp less. So it's just a win, win, win situation all around. Gotta love it. The fourth benefit to having semi-freeform locks is that you will have a puffier and fuller look. This is especially helpful for people who have fine hair or fine strands of hair. You know, even when you have locks and they're bunched up, the fact that you still have fine hair shows in just how your locks lay. But when you don't do retwists, your roots get puffy because you haven't retwisted that new hair, combined with the fact that you already have frizz because you have locks, and so it just gives it a more voluminous appearance. I mean, how many times did I say that my locks are not showing their true length because they're kind of raised because of my puffy roots, and so I have more volume right now and I have more length, but it's not showing, right? It's because when you don't do that maintenance, like, you just get more volume. So that is a benefit. The fifth benefit to having semi-freeform locks is that you are no longer concerned with that fresh retwist look. So you don't have to worry about when your next retwist will be, or whether or not you should get an interlock because maybe you're going to be working out a lot, or you're planning on going swimming. Yes, I'm thinking about the spring and summer. I know we're in the winter, but I just want to put it out of my mind and get through it as quick as possible. But you're not even thinking about those things when you're semi-freeforming, right? You're not overly concerned with any sort of maintenance because you're not doing much maintenance. So that is definitely a benefit. You're not so focused on maintaining a fresh retwisted or fresh interlocked look. You're just letting your locks be. And the most beautiful thing is that your locks in that non-retwisted, non-interlocked, non-maintained state, that becomes a look in and of itself. I mean, have you noticed how many people with longer locks are just not so concerned with a fresh retwist or a fresh maintenance, right? And I know there are people that think, okay, when you have longer locks, like, you can get away with that, versus someone who has like younger locks, you know, starter locks or whatever, they can never pull that off. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm not gonna debate it. You guys can tell me what you believe in the comment section, but I'm just gonna say that not having maintenance done is definitely a look in and of itself, and that is an added benefit. The sixth benefit to having semi-freeform locks is that your hair is no longer under your thumb, or should I say between your palms, with all that palm rolling and retwisting and stuff, right? You actually get the opportunity to see how your hair behaves on its own, to see what it's gonna do without you manipulating it. The seventh benefit to having semi-freeform locks is that you get to ditch your obsession with your locks. If you're semi-freeforming, then you have the opportunity to let your locks do what they're doing while you're doing what you're doing. It's not to say that you're being neglectful of your locks, but you know that you don't need to retwist or, you know, do all these things to your locks, so they have time to just grow out and do what they do while you're continuing to live your life and showing them the appropriate amount of attention. And that is a wonderful thing, because when you finally come back to them and it's time to do whatever maintenance you're gonna do, then you get the wonderful surprise of a length difference. You know, wow, they really grew, or wow, my roots are thicker, or wow, my locks are actually thicker, you know? You get to be surprised by these added benefits. You get to see things that you would not have otherwise seen because you were always manipulating them and checking them out anyway. So that is definitely, hands down, a wonderful benefit of semi-freeform locks. So I'm curious, guys, do you semi-freeform? Do you have semi-freeform locks? Let me know in the comment section, okay? So I've talked about the wonderful benefits of having semi-freeform locks, but there are things that you need to either do or look for if you are on a semi-freeform journey. The first thing that you need to do is that you need to make sure your locks are not joining to form congos unless you want this. But most people who have semi-freeform locks, I feel like the reason they actually maintain, albeit not often, but they do maintain, is because they still want to keep those locks separate. So if you are noticing that congos are forming, you definitely want to make sure you're separating your locks, especially after you wash, because after you get all that shampoo up in there in those locks, you know, when you're cleaning them or whatever, all those hairs are definitely going to be intertwined. So make sure you're separating your locks all the way down to the root. That will help to prevent your locks from forming congos when you don't actually want them. The second thing that you need to look for is that your locks are not actually thinning out because you have hair that grows away from your locks. Yes, I know I'm always talking about having hair that grows away from your locks, you guys, but it's because this is a real issue for many people, and there are still so many of you who do not know about it. looking at the community tab, out of the people who responded, there were a lot of you who suffer from having hair that grows away from your locks. So you understand that this is a reality, and there were a few of you who still don't even know what it is. So definitely, if you're going to be on a semi freeform lock journey, then you want to be looking to make sure that your locks are not thinning out because that new growth is growing away from your locks. And if it is, your locks are thinning out, and something that you can use is the braid technique, which I've spoken a lot about. I have a video showing you how to braid that new growth back into the lock. That's something that you can do. Or you can also increase just a little bit, maybe the number of times that you do your maintenance, let's say over a year's period, okay? Those things will all help to keep your locks from thinning out and eventually breaking off because there's so few strands holding the lock to the scalp. So definitely look out for thinning locks. So you got looking out for congos, them joining, then you got looking out for thinning as sort of the other end of the spectrum. The last thing that you should pay attention to and look out for, and this is going to be a matter of preference, but flat locks. Because you're doing less maintenance, because you're not palm rolling your locks, they have a tendency to flatten out. Now, if you want flat locks, or if flat locks don't bother you, then disregard this, okay? But I know a lot of you care about keeping nice cylindrical locks. You don't care for flat locks. And so if this is the case, if you have noticed that you have flat locks as a result of having semi-freeform locks because you're doing less maintenance, then you can do something about it. All you have to do is spray the lock with water and then palm roll. And right now, when I'm saying palm roll is not synonymous to retwisting, okay? Although a lot of people do use them interchangeably. When I say palm roll, I'm just saying spray the lock, put it in between your palms, and roll. The way that you get away with palm rolling without tightening your roots is to go in one direction and then in the other direction. Not going too far in one direction or the other direction, because that's going to tighten your roots. But if you're just going a little bit in either direction, right, back and forth, you're getting the benefits of rolling the lock and essentially rounding it out, all the while not tightening the root because you're not going too far in either direction, okay? The water will help to make the hairs more malleable and will help them to form into the new form, the new rounded cylindrical form. And then once those hairs dry, they'll dry in that rounded form. So if you have flat locks, don't worry, this is not a permanent condition. All you have to do is spray it with water and palm roll and form them into the shape that you want. Alright guys, hopefully this video gave some insight into the world of semi-freeform locks and what things you can do and or look for so that you don't damage your locks, so that you truly can have the best of both worlds. The best of having manicured locks and then the best of having freeform locks. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to let me know which category you fall into. Do you fall into the category of having manicured locks, semi-freeform locks, or do you have freeform locks? Let me know down in the comment section. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and responding to your comments. Choose to love, do so unconditionally, because loving with conditions the heart to not really love at all. This is Atreyu Locs, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.